Mindfulness is about being present in the moment, fully engaged with what you're doing. And it plays a vital role in all the things that we do in maintaining healthy habits. Whether you're working, walking, playing, or even in a relationship, being present, being mindful helps you stay connected, stay in touch, and helps you set yourself up for success. That's what we're going to be talking about today in this episode of our walk. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Welcome to my 100-day walk for and to consistency. Hey, this is day number 27. That's what we're doing. We're talking today about being mindful. Let me remind you before we get into our talk that consistency is your key. Consistency is your superpower, and being consistent sets you up for success. So let's go ahead, let's take a walk, and then we'll have a conversation. So I'm here after work again and just doing my walk. As I told you, I've had to adjust my schedule, my calendar, so that I can do this video. So 100 days of consistency, that's what we're working on. And so today we're talking about a powerful subject, a powerful topic that really, if done well, if understood and if used, can give us an amazing ability to be successful and will be tremendous in helping us reach our goals. And that is the idea of mindfulness. And there are lots of thoughts about how people set themselves up for success. And, you know, we've talked about knowing yourself. We talked about knowing how you're feeling, how things around you are affecting you. And mindfulness is a key component of that, because mindfulness is being present in the current situation, being present in the current circumstance, understanding, knowing, feeling, listening, and being here as opposed to being somewhere else. I can't tell you the number of times, and I'm just gonna be honest, that I have caught myself here with my wife, here with my son, here with a myriad of other people and other things, but yet I'm here present physically, but my mind is wandering. Have you ever caught yourself doing that? Where you have to kind of say to the person who's talking to you, can you repeat that? And can you repeat that because even though you were here physically, you were wandering somewhere, your brain was off somewhere else, thinking about some other problem, some other situation that you may have encountered that day, or even something that you're anticipating that may happen into the future. But being mindful says, hey, I'm here. It's about paying attention to what is currently going on. Because if I am mindful, then I'm able to feel and see how my body is responding to all the things that are happening to me right now. Okay, so that's the whole idea behind being mindful. It is being immersed in my current circumstance. Now, there are lots of reasons why people may not want to be mindful. And it can be intentional, but it a lot of times is kind of a subconscious thing. But intentionally, there may be something that you don't want to know, you don't want to hear, you don't want to be in that situation. I know when I've been in places where I may not have wanted to have a particular conversation, I would say, do you want to have a conversation? Sure, I'm here. Let's go ahead and have it. But my brain goes off somewhere. And maybe that was a deliberate decision, a deliberate thought on doing that. But we want to be mindful. We want to be present. And a lot of times it is subconscious. It is not a choice. It's not something that we deliberately do. But in order to overcome it, we have to make deliberate decisions about how we're going to interact in those circumstances, okay? So when we're mindful, we know how we feel, we know how we think, we know how our body is currently responding to that particular thing, that particular thought, that particular idea, that particular person that we are currently engaged in. Okay. So why does mindfulness matter? Why does mindfulness matter? Well, mindfulness matters because if you are just waiting for these cars to go by. Mindfulness matters because if you are being mindful, then you're grounded. You're grounded in the here and you're grounded in the now. I told you, or may have mentioned, that there's a book that I read. It's called The Power of Now. And in the book, the author's premise is that the past is already done. The future has not arrived. But the only thing that is here is the present. And in the present, we're okay. That's the idea behind the book. But that is apropos to mindfulness as well, because often we get caught up in the past because there's something that we regret, something that we're kind of playing over and over in our head that didn't quite go well. And so depression comes in. Or we're anxious because of something that we are anticipating, something that we are not quite sure of. We don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to work out. And so we're anxious for that. And we're using energy, we're using the energies for those particular things when we should be putting that energy into the now, the here and now. And right now is what matters because this is where we are, okay? So when we're mindful, it matters because it grounds you. It reduces distractions, right? When we're mindful, because our focus, all of our energies are here and right now. It helps us to stay emotionally stable because once again, energy is here. We're not divided. We're not dealing with multiple emotions at one time, as we would be if we're thinking about the past or the present or the future, and it's all kind of jumbled up. It allows us to process more succinctly, and allows us to bring all of our mental faculties to be able to handle all of those things. And it helps us with consistency, right? We have a structured way of dealing with the things in our lives. Often we step into situations and because we are not mindful, we can misinterpret, we can misconstrue, we can take things personally when it was never meant to be that way, or it just clouds our ability to evaluate and to judge because we are distracted. So being mindful helps us in all those different ways, and it helps us to be successful because it helps us develop a structured way of thinking, of talking, of being, so that it is not clouded. And hey, little doggy, so there's a little dog hanging out right there. So mindfulness. Okay. So how does mindfulness impact our consistency? That's a question. And let's see. I think I'll go out this way and then come back down the other way. Usually I walk through this door, this particular area. So we'll start there. So how does it impact our consistency? It increases our focus and reduces our distraction. Right? We've kind of already alluded to that. When you're mindful, you stay present with what's going on here. You stay present with the current idea. You stay present with the current feelings on what you're doing. It helps you to complete tasks and processes. It helps you complete the things that you are working on at this very moment because your attentions are not divided. You know, people talk about being able to multitask, and you know that's a whole nother conversation that we'll need to have. But I think there is really no such thing as multitasking, because you can't do two things at one time. Right? You are only able to do one thing at a time. Now you could serially task. What that means is that you're doing something and then you interrupt that thing even momentarily to do something else, and then you come back to it. But you're not multitasking, because the times when you interrupt to do something else, you're actually not working on this particular idea. You're actually doing a different task. Well, let's see, which way should I go? I guess let's go up this way. Okay, so we are serial tasking as opposed to multitasking. If you're mindful during your walk, you're focused on breathing, your heart rate. You're focusing on getting the most out of that activity, right? You're mindful. If you're being mindful, then you allow yourself to enjoy the trees, and you allow yourself to hear the birds chirping and see the grass. And in my case here, as I'm walking around and I'm talking to you guys, right, I'm serial tasking because I'm being mindful of the things that are around me. So I just moved out of that car's way. But often, even let's take our walk for example. There are times that we're walking and we may have gone through a particular path, I don't know, dozens of times. And because we weren't mindful, we don't realize all the things that are around us, okay? But when we're mindful, we can focus, and we can, it reduces our distraction. Number two, it helps us stay connected to our goals. So when we are mindful, it helps us to be able to regularly check in and say, how am I doing? How am I reaching my SMART goals? Am I where I need to be? Am I hitting those benchmarks? Am I getting to the things I said I needed to get to in order for me to be successful? So mindfulness allows us that. It is a way of checking in with ourselves. It's a way of checking in with ourselves and knowing where we are and how we're feeling and how we're doing. Being mindful means constantly assessing where you are. And one of the things I talk about often is this idea of checking in. How am I doing physically? How am I doing mentally? How am I doing emotionally? When we are able to do that, when we're mindful, we're able to do that, and we're able to do that honestly. That's a key component, right? Because often we cloud our thought process with emotions because we're not being mindful, because we are distracted by our interpretation of a particular thing and how that thing is going to affect us. I'm just trying to decide which way to walk. How that thing is going to affect us, okay? It helps us to stay on track because we're feeling what we're feeling right now. We're not misjudging. We're not buffering it by thinking of something else. We're not clouding it with something else, right? It improves our emotional regulation. When we're mindful, we are able to be in touch with how we're feeling and how our body is responding to the situations, the conversations, the people around us, right? Practicing mindfulness helps us to recognize emotional triggers. We did a discussion on triggers. If you're not mindful, if you're not present, then those things can sneak up on you, right? When we talked about being mindful allows us to see and sense when things are moving in a direction that can cause us to be triggered. When we're mindful, it allows us to begin developing appropriate responses to those triggers, or even be able to avoid getting to the point where those triggers are continually disrupting our day and disrupting our thought, because we are being mindful. When you notice frustrations, when you notice all these things arising, when they're coming up, if you are present, you are alerted. If you're present, you know, hey, something is happening within me. I'm starting to feel a certain way. I'm starting to think a certain way. I'm starting to have difficulty with my processing. And we're able to circumvent, adjust, and pull out one of the tools that we have learned, right? When we're mindful, it allows us to acknowledge the feelings. This one is so important. We don't want to buffer the feelings. We want to know that the feelings are there. We want to acknowledge them. And not that we are going to be succumbing to those feelings, but in order for us to make a change, in order for us to be successful, we have to acknowledge that we are having a particular feeling. And acknowledging the feeling can only occur if we are continuing to be mindful. If we're continuing the space that says, okay, I know this is happening. I feel the frustration happening. I feel myself becoming irritated. I feel myself becoming frustrated. I know that's there. Okay, so how do I deal with that? Okay, so mindfulness, when we're mindful, it allows us to do that. And it allows us to look for, seek out, and to accept support. When we're mindful, we're able to say, I need help. I need someone to come alongside. I need to talk to somebody. I need to find a counselor. I'm looking down because I'm walking in this, I'm not sure what this is, but anyway. But mindfulness allows us to be able to do that, because we can now accept and look for support, right? Because we could say, yeah, I've got to go somewhere else because this is not quite working for me. Okay, so how do we incorporate mindfulness into our lives, into our day, into the things that we do? And we incorporate mindfulness. One, we've got to start the day with intention. Oh, yeah. Yesterday I mentioned bookending. So in order to be mindful, we've got to start the day with the intention that we're going to be mindful, with the intention that we're going to be present, that we're going to show up, that we're not going to buffer, that we're not going to avoid. I'm going to be present in the activities that I do. If I'm working, I'm going to work, and I'm going to be present in my job. If I'm playing, I'm going to play, and I'm going to be present in my play. If I am walking, for instance, here, I'm going to be present in my walk, and I'm going to walk, right? So I'm going to be present. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be aware of all that is going on around me as I participate in, as I am involved in that activity. So we got to start the day with intention. We got to begin the day by settling and deciding that today is going to be a day where I'm going to be present for all parts of my day. Okay, this will help ground you, and it will help you determine that you're not going to allow things to derail you. Right? You're more on guard to make sure things don't derail you. So before you start the day, find a practice, right? What is going to be your, how are you going to make sure that you are being intentional? right? I mentioned bookending, and we'll come back and we'll talk more about bookending as part of our daily routine. But how are you going to do that, right? Determine how you're going to do that. Number two, you want to you want to do a mindful walk. Mindful walk. Now, is it the simplest? Okay, I'm not going to say the simplest, but a very doable thing that we can do, most of us, is to walk. And so determine that you're going to make a mindful walk. And on the walk, you're going to be present. You're going to be in that moment, feeling, experiencing, evaluating who you are, how you are right now. What am I feeling? Why am I doing this? Or what's going on in my mind? What's going on in my body? What's going on in my emotions? Right? Because we are being mindful. So during your walk, practice mindfulness by paying attention to your heart rate. So we're talking about physically, your breathing, the steps that you're taking, how fast your breathing is going. Is my heart rate going up? All right? Are you being affected by the are you being affected by the weather, the pollen, whatever, allergies? And you guys see me here, right? So I'm being mindful. Focus on the sensation in your body. Now, one of the things I was reading the book, The Power of Now, and two things that I got from that I use. Well, I got more things, but two of the things that I use that I got. One is using the things around me to center me and to ground me. So I'll sit in a chair, like if I'm having a difficult conversation or getting ready to have a difficult conversation. I'll count the leaves, right? I'll count the leaves. Or I'm in the shower and I'll try to count the drops of water as they're hitting me. Or when I'm driving, I'm holding on to the steering wheel and I'm feeling the vibration. Okay, so notice the sensation around you when you're walking, on your walk. What does it feel like as your foot hits the ground? Is it soft, like if you're in a field, some grass? Is it hard, like on asphalt? I'm walking on the road right now. Does it feel squishy, as if you're in mud? Right? What does that feel like? And what is the repetitiveness saying to you? What does it feel like? What does it do to your body? How are your hips feeling? How are your legs feeling? How are your toes feeling as they hit the ground and move you forward? So all those things you want to be experiencing. Feel those sensations and bring your attention back to whatever it is that you're looking at. Okay, and then we want to do mindful eating. So we're talking about being mindful. So in our eating, we could be mindful. Now that's a big one for a lot of us who are dealing with metabolic disease, diabetes.
Time 27 minutes 57 seconds. Total distance 1.0 miles. Average pace 27 minutes 56 seconds per mile. Split pace 27 minutes 56 seconds per mile.
And you heard my app there reading out. All right, so mindful eating, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, fatty liver, coronary artery disease, all of those respond to mindful eating, right? So food is medicine. When we are mindful in our eating, then we're able to regulate and we're able to process, we're able to eat, and we're able to be more content. We're able to say, hey, I'm not going to soothe, I'm not going to buffer with food, right? Because I'm willing to feel, I'm willing to experience, I'm willing to be present for whatever it is that's going on. And because I'm here, because I'm present, because I'm feeling, because I'm doing all the things I need to do, I don't have to use food as my buffer, right? So very, very, very important. Instead of running through meals or getting easily distracted while we're eating, watching TV, playing games, savor the food. You will enjoy your food more. The food will make a bigger impact on you when you are being mindful in your eating. Pay attention to textures, the flavors, the colors, the smells, all of that informs you. And then use mindfulness to manage stress. Oh yeah. Right? And that goes back to what I just mentioned about counting the leaves on the trees, or feeling the vibration of the road as we're driving down, right? As the wheel turns over and over and over, feeling the vibration in the steering wheel, counting the drops of water in the shower. All of those are ways of being mindful. And when you can practice those, when you are able to pull those out of your toolbox, out of your bag of tricks, at will, because you've been working on it, because you've been practicing, that sets you up for amazing success, right? So when stress comes up, right? Be mindful. Decide, what am I going to do? Mindfulness helps you to step back, take a break, if you will, and say, okay, I can respond to this. I don't have to react to this. That's the power of mindfulness. So next time you're stressed, hey, okay, let's be mindful. Right? Let's do some deep breathing. Let's be present. Let's decide, okay, I'm going to be present for this right now. I'm going to be present for where I am. I'm going to be present in this moment. Yeah. So all of these are amazing tools that we're using as we move into the space of being more and more successful, and as we build a better version of ourselves, a more resilient version of ourselves, a version of ourselves that is present in our lives. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. Now, we can't leave without giving a challenge. So are you ready for the challenge for today? All right, you ready for the challenge for today? Here's the challenge. And your challenge today is to practice mindfulness in your routines. All right, so that's what we're doing. Number one, we want to mindfully start our day. All right, so begin your day by setting a clear intention of how you want to approach your goals and how you are going to be consistent in staying mindful. All right, so start the day. This means you're going to have to develop a routine where you're doing this on a consistent basis. So how am I going to start my day? How am I going to approach my day? What's the mindful technique I'm going to use today to try to maintain myself being present? And then two, a mindful activity. Choose one activity today, whether it's walking, eating, working, and practice mindfulness while you're doing that. While you're sitting eating your meal, don't watch the TV. Don't do a puzzle. Don't scroll on your phone. Okay? Be present for that. When you're walking, be alert and be aware of the experiences in that space. Be mindful, right? So pick one of those activities and pay attention to every detail that you can. Remember, our brain is an amazing device. And what we feed it, what we tell it, will impact us. So if we are in the experience, if we're walking and we are noticing and we're the sights and the smells and the sounds and the feels, right? So the brain is now creating a very vibrant, a very rich, a very detailed environment for us to deal with. And we can now use that in our day. And then reflect on your experience. After practicing mindfulness, when you get to the end of the day, reflect on how that worked. Did you feel more present? Were you more grounded? Did you feel more focused? Did you feel more lighted or less heavy? Okay, reflect on it. And you got to do this, right? So all the things that we do, it takes action. Putting it on a piece of paper without activating it is not what we want to do. So make sure that you are doing and going through the exercise so that you can set yourself up for success. right? Mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. Okay, and of course I walked all the way back up. There's a helicopter going overhead. There are cars driving by. So I'm gonna go right back to where we started so we can have perhaps a little bit more quiet as we get to our charge. So we got our challenge, right? So make sure that you are getting in there and you're doing all the things that you need to do to be successful in your space and in what you want to do, okay? I want us to be as successful as possible. So mindfulness is a simple yet powerful, right? Did I say powerful? Simple yet powerful tool that keeps you grounded and fully engaged in your life, in your day, in your family, in your work, in your activities. When you are mindful, then you're able to bring to bear all of the strengths and tools that we're learning. You're able to set yourself up for success by pulling out of your bag, pulling out of your toolbox the things that we are learning, okay? And so I want to encourage you to practice mindfulness. Practice that and be sure that you are implementing them in your life. Hey, before I go, I gotta say, like I always say, I want to make sure that you are doing the challenges. Make sure that you are taking the time to go through the worksheets, because each one is a way of solidifying, of helping, of learning the things that we're processing. When you're done, you would have created a manual that you can now use to set yourself to extrapolate to other areas of your life. All right, so 100 days of consistency. And these things, as you're learning them, you can extrapolate them to other areas. Remember the domino effect, the compound effect, the momentum that you're gonna gain, the consistency, the confidence. Oh yeah, it's all in there. So make sure that you are doing the worksheets and not just ignoring them or not just putting them on the shelf, okay? Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. I'm glad that you joined me for this 100-day walk to consistency. This is amazing. We're coming back and we're gonna be on day number 28. So make sure you join us. Make sure you see us tomorrow as we move in that direction. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the walk.